The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
Let's tidy up this tangle of film by putting it on a reel. Here is a motion picture film, 1,000 feet, 16,000 separate photographs.
Welcome, everybody, to the official space section of the charter.
What's the truth? You can't handle the truth.
Sir, you're out of order.
Out of order. I show you out of order.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm your sister.
I'm your father. It's a family reunion.
I love it. There we go. Welcome back to the show, listener. Well, we're the Real Debaters, where the art of cinema meets the power of debate. If this is your first time, thank you so much for tuning in, and happy May the 4th be with you today. This is the first episode I think we've ever done where we've done it and cut it in the same day. What's his face from the White Stripes? Jack White. Thank you. That dude from the White Stripes.
I almost said Jack Black. Like, how bad would that have been to get that wrong?
But I watched him. He did. I don't know what he was doing, but he did an episode where he recorded an album and then mastered it and then printed it on vinyl, all within the same 7-hour period.
Yeah, that sounds like something to do.
So this is our low rent version of that.
Love it
today, right? So welcome to the show. Welcome to May the 4th. Happy Star Wars Day and all that good shit. We've got Doug Darling back. I think the last time you were here was when we did Marvel Day, the big.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while, and since then, nothing has changed.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so no updates.
Fantastic. But this is the day to celebrate all things Star Wars. So we're going to talk about some stuff that's happening actually today that we can update you on. We're going to be regaling on some of our favorite moments and scenes and lightsaber battles from the past. It's going to be a mishmash of everything. We're not editing anything. We're just going to let it roll. We're going to Joe Rogan fuck out of this
Raw
one.
dogging it.
Raw dog. Seriously.
Wow.
This
Yeah.
is the cancel episode.
Yeah, this is the one where it's do or die, guys. So watch your tongues today.
My job is just to try and keep up with you guys on this stuff. I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm not hardcore, but I'm going to see how well I can keep up here.
I think you'll tread just fine. Yeah. May the Force be with you, so to speak.
And to you as well. That's what they say, right?
That's right,
And
yeah.
also to you.
Yeah, and also with you.
And also with you.
And behind you, and in front of you, and to the left
It's
of
the
you.
Force. It's everywhere.
Before we dive into a galaxy far, far away, we just want to let you know we've got trivia. We've got another trivia night. We're starting a new one at Finn's on Grant. We went and pitched Jay. Jay's taking a chance on us, so we got to show up and have some fun. If you haven't been to one of our trivia nights, it's very cheap. We don't like to be expensive, right? We all have day jobs. It's just nice to have a side hustle. So it's $5 for 4 rounds of trivia. This one's going to be the 80s.
Ooh.
General movie trivia, just a general round of stuff that you would know in the ether, stuff that's very popular, stuff that's not going to be too hard to figure out. Well, at least I think so. And then we're also going to do a Disney Pixar round.
Oh, wow.
Half Disney, half, it's like a hybrid version, right?
For the 80s things, half the answers are Molly Ringwald.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. How many Molly Ringwalds does it take to Molly Ringwald kind of thing? And then a Star Wars / Star Trek round, right?
Oh, nice.
We're going to mix some stuff up for everybody. So the way we're doing it this time around is we're just going to have you register your team at the link in the show notes. It's $5 at the door. I'm not going to try to explain this any more simply than I can. Mm-hmm. Register your team. We'll get your team. We'll pass it along to Finn's. They'll have a table ready for your team, and then you just pay $5 at the door, and you have a grand old time with us. Usually these take about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Charles, you've done them with us. You know how much fun they are.
Yeah, no, they're great.
Right?
Again,
We've done these
$5, but the quality is as if you're paying 100. So
don't go that high. Yeah, don't go that high. But
it's the best trivia you'll ever experience.
It's
Ever.
interactive.
It's a lot of
trivia.
absolutes
Ever.
going on.
I know, and I'm a little.
Only the Sith speaks in absolute.
Yeah!
Buddy's a little
There we
worried he's
go.
going to keep on
I know.
looking up. He's
I
already
know.
cracking the first
I
one.
told you I was the Padawan, so I have a lot to learn.
And if you've seen us before, we've been seen at such events doing these at Little Brown Jug and The Handsome Daughter and Rudy's as well. So we'd love to crack a new home open with some trivia with us. So May 23rd, 7 p.m. In the show notes, you'll be able to see a link. Register your team. It's free. Register a 4-person team. I can't say that anymore.
I think that's the perfect intro now is we're the Real Debaters. You might have seen us from such live shows such as Trivia, Bingo,
Comic-Con 21, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
So that's
Troy McClure of trivia shows.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's interactive too. The last one we did, The Handsome Daughter, there was some shot callers. There were some people who were arguing. And we debate film. right? And as you said, nothing is absolute. So if you can, people have argued for points, and
Fight to the death.
Right, well, we're not insured, but like we can accommodate, right? So we had a lot of fun at the Handsome Daughter. We give away a prize pack. It's a $25 gift certificate to take you and some friends to Landmark Theaters, because we know it's all about reclining when you go to the movies. It's not about sitting upright at a unknown cinema. I don't want to say, because again, we don't have insurance. So that's it. That's all the shameless self-promotion you're going to hear from us this week. We're going to crack into the Star Wars episode. We're going to jam in as much as we possibly can with Charles. Tell us, how was the symphony last night? Specifically, the Winnipeg Symphony.
Yeah, it was really awesome.
What'd they do?
It was so the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra did A New Hope. They played all the music to A New Hope last night.
And you watched the movie at the same time, right?
It was awesome. It was really, really great. I mean, I never got to experience Star Wars in theaters like the original ones. Even when they re-released them in the 90s, I don't think I got to experience them.
Really?
So this was cool. This was really neat. It was my first time seeing like the original one on like a big screen.
Sure,
and
yeah.
The whole thing was like packed. So I don't know.
How was the sound? I've done these before with Harry Potter, and
Okay, so I've seen the Harry Potter ones. I don't know if Star Wars is more suited for it, but it was absolutely incredible. It was incredible.
It's just the John Williams score is so much brass, and like I know he did the theme to Harry Potter as well, but it's not. I don't think it's the same. It's not as iconic as well.
No, it's big.
It's so
bold.
big, right?
Star Wars is like, it's almost defined. Like, it was funny as you're sitting there. And what was a nice treat that they did that we did not expect was they actually did the 20th century dun 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 dun
nice.
right at the beginning. They did that like because it was that cut. So nobody expected it. So that's how they started. So the whole. Like, everybody just started clapping and cheering immediately. And what was really cool is, like, the conductor, everyone's Star Wars fans, so they said, like, just like they did with Harry Potter, like, if you guys want to cheer, like, please, just live it up, enjoy it. And it was so neat. We've seen this movie 1,000 times, but when Luke showed up, people are cheering. When Vader showed up, people are like, boo, like, cheering and booing. Like, it was awesome. It was really cool. But, like, the music was just, like... I think everyone's dream would be to hear it live, especially if you could by John Williams. But if you can't, this is like the next best thing.
Almost.
It was phenomenal. Like what Claudia and I were trying to do is it was so neat seeing who in the band is playing what and actually identifying the instrument with like, the sound, but actually seeing them playing it is like, it's another level of just, it's so great. And like I think again, Star Wars is in a way defined by John Williams' music. Like,
so let me ask you, as speaking on the New Hope, and I actually just not even by my own like influence, but my 6-year-old asked 2 days ago, and I think May the 4th was coming up. She's like, I want to see the first Star Wars. And of course, I have I'm pretty sure I know what she means, but I'm like, do you mean the episode 4 or the Phantom Menace,
honey?
Are we talking epics? Are we? And my daughter's like, and I'm like, I think you mean A New Hope. And then of course, like we start it, and then my 9-year-old comes in and she's like, why are you? I'm like, we're watching the first Star Wars. She's like, but it says like IV, that's 4, right? I'm like. So what do you guys call it? Is it the first It's the first Star Wars, obviously, that's been made. But do you call it like Star Wars 1, or you just call it A New Hope, or you call it?
It's so funny.
I refer to them affectionately by nomenclature proper. So it's A New Hope, Empire, Return, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
can't get that wrong. Right?
No, it's the OG of the universe, right? Or Seven Samurai, if you want to be a dick about it. But like, I don't call them by their their release date, their storyline. Like, there's about 3 or 4 different ways to watch them, but I will go by the name. So Phantom Menace or Return of the Jedi. You?
Oh man. It's like one of my favorite / toughest questions. Like I had someone the other day who was like, Abby, Abby. Mm-hmm. She was like, I haven't actually sat down and watched the movies yet. What should I start with? And I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. Where do you start?
And it's one of those things where,
That's
I was like,
it.
shit, man. I'm like, generation, like just because of where I was born and how I was introduced to Star Wars, the first one will always be A New Hope. I understand it's now considered episode 4, but for me, I'm like, That's where it begins.
I think that's. I mean, obviously, it's how it's made, but that's how it should also be watched because then they were made within the realm of that perception.
Yes.
So
Yes.
like, the first three were made, and then they're like, well, when we make the prequels, we're obviously most people. It's made for an audience who's seen 4 to 6.
Yeah.
Right. So, I do. I mean, it would be interesting to watch like 1 through 9 all the way. Like,
Have you never done it?
yeah, you know, I have these things. What is it? A job and children. So
Well played,
marathons.
18 hours of cinema.
Not really available.
Yeah.
Not in the calendar this month. Honey.
Yeah.
I love that. You're like, what are you haven't?
Well, no.
Wrong with you?
I don't think there's anything. I am of the world that now I am like, let me take you on a journey. Let me hold your hand. Let me be your Sherpa in this world, right? Whereas before I would be like, how dare you?
Yeah.
Right? What's wrong with you? But I've done it release date with 6 3 times, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've done proper 9 now. Well, Rogue One and Solo make it 11, but proper 9 I've done twice.
Do you stick Rogue One in there?
You do,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Rogue
Yeah.
One's the prequel to New Hope, essentially, right? And that's
The
to your-
prequel after the prequels.
I've actually told a few people.
Is that a requel?
I've told people to start
Prequel.
with Rogue One and then go 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
Just because I'm like, I love.
I will say though, it is
love
nice
Rogue
to experience this. So, I mean, one of the few benefits of having kids is that you get to experience the new movies you like with them. It's about one of like 3 things that's good about having kids. The rest is just shit. But actually, like now they're old enough to kind of understand what's going on. Especially so now, like Rose, my 9-year-old's kind of getting into it. We don't usually watch this much TV, but it's Star Wars Day, so we get into Empire today, and she's starting to go like, is there something between the Luke guy and the Darth guy? And I'm like, yeah, just wait. And she can't, like, she's like, when is the connection going to be revealed? And I'm like, just wait, stop asking questions.
Yeah.
Just let it happen. Like, is it coming soon?
The daughter of a director. That's exactly how
When's the connection? Anyway, so then finally, and I really wish Denise filmed this because finally it was like,
She
Luke,
got it.
I am your father. And she just went, oh. And I was like, oh, that was so cool to see someone who doesn't know, actually.
That's amazing.
One of the biggest now, obviously, like twists, like, probably one of the biggest twists of all
Yeah.
in cinematic history.
Oh, in 100 years of cinema, yeah, for sure. That's top 5. What is when you talk?
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody.
That
You
is
guys
one
know.
of
You
my-
guys knew, right?
Yeah,
That is one of my favorite things, though. I love looking at compilations on YouTube of kids
first reaction.
or just
Yeah,
people's
yeah,
first
yeah,
reaction
yeah.
because
Yeah.
I agree. I think it is one of the biggest twists.
Or Homer ruining it for everybody on The Simpsons when he's like, I can't believe
So
Darth was his
Well,
father.
people used to do that. Hey, there was like that was like an original trolling. Like,
Yeah.
people would drive around
Such a
the
dick.
lineups and
Yeah.
just go like, he's Darth is Luke's father.
It was I experienced for me that was
person are you?
I know.
Harry Potter was Snape killed Dumbledore. When
Oh,
people
yeah.
found that,
That
shit
was-
out,
you got
they would just
drive-by?
go up to people, "Hey, fucking Snape kills done." You're like, "I'm not done the book."
what do you get joy out of this for, you
Yeah.
sick person?
The Sith.
No, but like when the stories of just watching Luke or watching Mark and Chrissy and
Carrie.
Carrie, thank you. I think it was Mark's girlfriend for a second. I was like, she's a Princess Leia.
definitely is.
No, and Han or Harrison.
You're doing well. Keep
Yeah,
going.
you're
You
making
got
me
this.
nervous. Yeah, I got this. Yeah, I may have smoked a little Interstellar before I came down.
No, it's because I'm doing this basic instinct thing with him. You know, again and again, I keep crossing my legs.
It is throwing me off over here. I do feel very, very Michael Douglas. But all of them realizing how the story would play out and like reading the script for the first time,
Yeah.
like, being hidden from everybody. Like,
Yeah.
that, you have to create the twist within the production because one person finds out, the rest of the world's going to find out.
Yeah, well, and I mean, like, I think what's neat too about it is that, like, I think we grew up for a while. There was just 3 movies. That was Star Wars. It was 3 movies that you watched all the time,
And that was it.
and then they made 3 more, and then now it's like, you know, it's expanding a lot. And it's in a way where I'm kind of jealous of people now who are like, I think I want to get into Star Wars because it's like, man, oh man.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second because you mentioned, Doug,
Yeah.
that you're not Star Wars new era. You're Star Wars 1.0.
You know, and this is where no. It's not that I'm against it.
No, I didn't. Just you haven't got the new stuff in yet.
Well, I've got Mandalorian, and I actually really liked Andor.
Yeah.
Well, that's Tony Gilroy's fault.
Yeah.
Andor
Well, and
is
because it's
incredible.
almost good as its own thing versus
Yeah,
I agree.
It's within the universe, but it's just a great story and a great series. I haven't got into Ashoka. I haven't got into all the animations, and I would say that one of the reasons is, and that this goes on the negative side of having the kids, is that you got no time to
Nerd out.
to get really into this stuff. I kid, of course, but I just haven't had time to really dedicate myself to it. But there is something that is a potential oversaturation, which we keep seeing. The Disney has already been down this road before, right? They oversaturated with Marvel,
Yeah.
and now I really feel like they're kind of doing the same thing here. It's a different world and a different fan base to a certain degree, but it also to the point of only having 3 movies and then kind of 6, it made them that much more special.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing wrong for those who love it to find more and more, or to go you should watch this a little more, especially if you're getting into it now. There's no right or wrong way, but I love the uniqueness of it, and now it feels like, from a cynical angle, that people are just going let's make as much of this shit as we can and water it all down.
Well, the only saving grace in that, I think, is that Marvel has too many twists and turns,
Right.
too many multiverses, if you will. For us in the room, love it. I want it.
you're right
I
there,
crave it. But for the general public, no. What Star Wars had was all of these stories that didn't have to tie into each other. It was part of the Empire before the Empire or after the Empire. It was part of the Rebellion before or after. So if you just watched the Clone Wars, for example, you got a great story, but if you never wanted to watch anything else, there wasn't any pressure. It was just they're kind of square peg round holing it in between, where Marvel just sprawls too much.
Yeah, I think Marvel has no they can
Connective tissue.
Well, there's
It's a bleeding effect.
There's no constraints, right?
Yeah.
It's we can do anything.
Everything
now.
bleeds
so
in
anything is possible.
Yeah.
I will say, in the Star Wars universe, only there is a very kind of finite realm of the technologies, the musics, the
Agreed.
looks, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now it seems to continue to work, because I would say otherwise, might lose its shine, might get boring. You're just seeing more characters within kind of the same realm. But then it really has to rely on storytelling.
Yes, it does.
And then as long as they do that, and they're more concerned about the actual subject matter, the characters, and where those things happen, or how those things happen, versus the new cool effect, or all the shiny things.
Yep.
Then the pressure is more to tell a really good story. So as long as they keep doing that, and so far so good, I just feel I know I looked at the list of all the things coming out in the next 2 years, and you're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think I just segued for you, not intentionally. But
No. Hey, listen, we're like Marvel. We're just sprawling and bleeding today. So
What I kind of like about it too, just on the other hand of looking at it, is everybody can kind of make their own. If you really still want Star Wars to just be 4, 5, and 6,
that's your call.
you can make that your world.
There's
right?
nothing wrong. with
I
that.
remember when I'm a big Harry Potter fan. When the Fantastic Beasts movies were coming out, I hate them.
yeah.
And it was making me it's you're ruining Harry Potter. But now I live in a world where I'm they just don't exist to me.
Well, yeah, it's
I don't need to watch them. I really don't. And whenever I watch Harry Potter, I don't. So it's same with Star Wars. If say I don't really like The Last Jedi, I'll probably watch a couple scenes in it. But if I'm doing my marathon, I'll do a super cut of Last Jedi and then go to what I want.
Why is it?
I think it's the
Let's
ending.
talk about that for a
it's
second.
the ending, man. It's the fucking idea that Disney.
Oh, I think it
spent,
starts long before the ending, but that's
Disney
me personally.
spent 3 movies killing off the OGs. I get it. We got to move on, but you don't need to make this whole thing about killing them all off. I don't get it. I just didn't get it. It was even Mark Hamill said he referred to the character as Jake Skywalker on set, because as he was reading the script, he's like, this is not Lucas's Luke, man. I don't know who this is. So he was even referring to the character as Jake Skywalker, because he was like, this isn't Luke. And I'm sorry, the more I watch that movie, I'm like, yeah, man, this isn't where Luke left off. I don't see
That's
it.
my problem, too.
I don't see it.
We left off with a Luke who was heading to greatness, who had hope, who was trying to change a situation, and then we end up with like a curmudgeon-y old island dweller who's not even as like fine, that's Obi-Wan Kenobi-ish, but Obi-Wan Kenobi at least took
kept
Luke
hope
and like guided him,
yeah,
right?
And when he was, and like again, just rewatching it yesterday,
throwing a lightsaber off a cliff is not a good way to bring back a character after you haven't seen him for years, and you've let your brain go. Where did Luke go? You've created stories in your mind, and you're like, what would Lucas have done? Where's Luke? And this is Luke? It's not Luke.
When Luke finds Obi-Wan and Obi-Wan finds Luke, it's at the point where he's like, great, you're at the age now we can fuck shit up. Let's go do it.
You got hair in your balls.
Let's go do it.
Yeah.
But like,
want to meet your daddy?
In one movie, you're trying to explain to me that in the 20 to 30 years since Luke defeated the Empire, what made him turn his hope into like bitterness was that he had a vision of Kylo Ren becoming Kylo Ren, and then he was going to kill him in his sleep. What?
Well, and then
it was a vision. Wasn't that he actually tried to kill?
Well,
Kylo
yeah,
Ren?
you're right. That's right. It wasn't a vision. That's what happened.
And
it's
and
like
then he feels like he created Kylo Ren.
I know, and I'm like, you.
But then
like,
you get
so
the line.
amateur.
You get the line in Force Awakens where Han's explaining that Luke just up and left, and I'm like, that's not very Jedi-like, right?
That's what I mean.
That's like Jelinski from Survivor just quitting.
Well, and again, it's JJ doing, like, I hate to say it, but Force Awakens is like, it's that whole...
It's a requel.
A requel, right. So it's that whole
reboot
idea
with some
of
sequel.
Luke's got to be away where they got to go to him, just like Ben Kenobi thing. But again, when they found Ben, he wasn't like, bah!
Yeah, he was, just watching it again today, it's just like, yeah, he was pretty good to just jump right back in.
Yeah,
Young spry
literally.
Jedi.
He's like, oh, of course I know who he is. He's me.
Oh, that was
and he's
good.
just
There's
like,
never been a town more of
like-
common villainy.
He was waiting to say that.
Yeah, right? Like, and that's what I mean. And same with Yoda. Like, it's almost like they use their time in solitude to be kind of like quirky. Whereas Luke used his time in solitude to be like, I fucking hate everything.
But in all fairness, we use that like example of how Ben reacted against how Luke reacted, and I'd probably JJ going to like, yeah, I don't think Ben should have reacted like that in the first place.
Right, that's a good question.
I
yeah.
will be a hermit. No one will know who I am. I am in mystery. I know you, Luke. Right? Okay. And then he finally comes to him, and he's like, so yeah, there's this thing. He's like, we gotta go. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm a Jedi. Let's go. It's me. Let's go. It's so long.
Yeah.
Pick me.
Well, and same thing too.
We're gonna do this all over these stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Yay!
And he's just flexing lightly. He's like, you don't need it. And it's like, whoa,
these aren't the droids.
there's more to you, Ben. He's like, oh yeah.
The other thing, other thing I pointed out actually today, I think it's actually at Empire, and I just love it. And it happens in other sci-fis as well, and it makes sense. It's written for us, but I love when there's like colloquial terms being used in space that are things that would only have happened in Earth, or at least are things that like they're so when it's the they're leaving Hoth and they're sending the first transport out and they're like, aha, the first catch of the day, and I'm like, oh, you big fisher? Oh, General? Okay. Oh, you're doing a lot of fishing in that Star Destroyer. Okay. I love when they use like really like just terms that would only have happened when you were in a world where you did fishing.
This general was like ran fishing charters before he became part of the Empire.
It's just like a writer being like, oh, that's good dialogue, because it is
good.
like for people. Like it definitely
is. That something that a general in a completely different galaxy would say? But we also it's also that's the suspension of disbelief, because it's like that is a good phrase, like it's a good metaphor.
Thank you very much.
That's so true.
That's me just speaking of curmudgeons.
I love that though. That's great.
I love living here for the one day of the year where everybody drops the coldest day of the year photo, and it's just a scene from Hoth.
Oh yeah, and it's
right,
like
how ingrained everybody is. Like, there's no colder place.
Yeah,
there are colder places in cinema, but there is no colder place than Hoth.
Well, and it's like what we were saying too. Again, it's just good writing, right?
Well,
they're like,
again though, watching it today, I'm like, how do those tauntauns survive before they were there? Because they're like, that tauntaun outside, he'll freeze to death. I'm like, shh. Aren't they indigenous to the planet? Like, where did they? What were they doing prior?
Were they brought across from another planet to colonize Hoth?
I was meaning more like, what says like that battle, and then having Vader, like, you already have a planet of ice cold. The idea that like just going out there, you're going to freeze to death. These poor fucking rebels, and then there's this huge battle that you're like, yeah, this is amazing. Also, like, that would be awful. Like, even if part of your window broke in your thing, you're not dead. You can still move it, but having all that, all of a sudden it's -50 now. It's like, Yeah, of course.
That's what I'm saying. Like when I see Luke slapped in the face with the cold weather of Hoth, I'm like, he doesn't know fucking cold.
Yeah.
He doesn't know plugging in his snow speeder. He doesn't know shoveling out his tom-tom. Like this is not cold that we know here.
I like that Obi-Wan showed up right before he was going to die on Hoth there. And he's just like, hey, when you're done with this, go see Yoda. Just like,
go to the Dagobah system.
Yeah, it's like, how about
but I'm dying.
Anything for me right now? Anything
you should make fire.
Yeah.
And then just disappears.
This looks shitty.
Gives him a
and isn't that what he's doing? He's like,
go.
and then when Han finds him, he's like, Ben, Dagobah, and he's like, what
system.
the fuck?
Like I was actually, we were cracking a joke the other day at work about some sequels, and I was like, most sequels suck, and then we both looked at each other and was like, unless it's Empire.
No, there's a lot of
And
good.
Two Towers.
There's Spider-Man 2.
Yeah,
Spider-Man 2.
There's a good stream of like better sequels than like,
Terminator 2.
Yes.
Oh, I smell
Like
debate
there
cooking.
a lot of trilogies where 3 and 1 aren't as good as 2. For
Yeah,
sure.
I agree.
There's a lot of shit. There's way more shittier sequels. For sure.
Yes,
But-
yes, there are those gems where, or like I don't know about you guys, but like I grew up on Terminator 2, not realizing it was Terminator 2. Never,
You just
I
thought
just
there were
thought
two
Terminator,
dinosaurs?
right?
Same here. Yeah.
And then one day my brother came home and he's like, I rented Terminator. I'm like, Terminator 2? He's like, no, Terminator. There was one before. And you're like, oh, what?
It's like I grew up on Police Academy 3. Man, it was so confusing.
That's where you started.
It is where I started. But actually, that's
a great bit.
And I think I am stealing from someone who actually talks about this. But I actually grew up on Spaceballs.
That's
first,
great.
right?
That's
like
great.
I think I saw Spaceballs before Star Wars.
That's
so
great.
like, and someone said
That's the
like
best way to
Star
say
Wars
it.
is just
Star
a
Wars.
shittier, less funny Spaceballs.
Yeah. Wow.
Like you're watching.
Well, I mean, that's your perspective.
You're watching Star Wars. And you're like, they stole this from Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
Where's the big helmet?
The Force. That sounds a lot like the Schwartz. Come on, you guys, try.
Spaceballs is also still an amazing classic. Like
It holds up.
Oh,
it
it's
does.
so good.
It does.
Joan Rivers still cracks like all the weird like cameo celebrities that are in it is just so funny.
And I'm still catching things. At least I think I am. Like again, watching Empire today, where C-3PO's head gets put on backwards. He's like, you put my head on backwards, and I'm like, oh, I never realized when Mel Brooks does that. When
That's his parody.
That's the parody.
Yeah.
I never caught that. That's a real. That's a bit of a deep cut on.
yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
like you look at you just look at the infamy of the word Star Wars and what it can do. Like the power of something being a semi-Western / samurai interstellar space adventure that has weird names and languages and this invisible force. Like all of these things are really great, but hard to get someone to be like, I'll give you $80 million for that, right? So, but when you look at what Star Wars can do, you can put Star Wars on a pack of oranges, and all of a sudden a kid who hates oranges will more than likely want to try those oranges at least, right? Like,
you want to get into the commercialization?
Yeah.
of things,
Oh, yeah.
like
Sure.
The pointless commercialization.
Yes.
Of things.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's great. Yeah, it is so. That's literally it. It's like, I don't know, sun-kissed. Yeah, let's slap some Star Wars on that. What does it have to do with Star Wars? Absolutely nothing.
Fuck sweet
Oh,
all.
yeah.
People are gonna buy it,
Right?
Ooh, Star Wars oranges, storanges.
Oh my god, that's great.
From Elderon.
Somebody was there's an Instagram account that's been reposting the original ads for when
The toys came out.
No, like even like for the taco, like what you're talking about, like Taco Bell
you'll kill
sponsored
Taco
like
Bell.
Revenge of the Sith, let's say, and it shows someone at Taco Bell and they go to
I-
bite their
I-
taco and the taco comes out of their hand and then it's Vader and Vader's like forcing the taco in his hand and I'm like, how does he eat the fucking
Yeah,
thing?
I feel like Taco Bell and Revenge of the Sith. There's an opportunity there that probably
definitely.
would not have passed legal standards and practices. I think about Revenge and tacos at Taco Bell's and what you could do with that.
The imagery, the
Not sure how many butts you can show in a
Yeah, no
Taco
kidding.
Bell commercial, but
Revenge.
or just Darth like somehow drinking out of a straw with some Pepto Bismol.
just the next morning, 10 o'clock on the shitter, just like,
Oh, no,
the revenge.
If it's
the Sith are coming.
If it's Taco Bell, it's not a cup of Pepto Bismol; it's a cup of Mountain Dew.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Or
That
like it's
taco
blue
bell.
Pepto Bismol.
Yeah, that's right.
Like
That's right.
no, like it just it's like I mean the Lego world. Obviously, I you and me both prescribe to Lego because we don't have children, right? So,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
You know, children like Lego too. Right? So I get to get back into that shit.
Hell yeah.
Really?
Hell yeah.
So you just need to push them in the
Yeah.
right direction. To
No,
get,
sweetie, I
Not
think you
only-
want this one.
you want
not
the
only
AT-AT
this-
for
Oh.
900.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, we go in and I go into the store, and actually my cousin actually works there. He gets a pretty good deal. I keep trying to justify getting like the Iron Man helmet or something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I get it.
Because I think I can get a pretty good deal. No, I can sway the kids into this stuff quite easily.
I love it.
Oh yeah.
I love how ignorant I am. I'm like, Legos for adults only.
Yeah, I love that. You're just like that was said so unironically.
Yeah, I know, right?
You're like, well, we don't have kids, so we get to play with Lego.
You mean the
I doubled down.
You
on
mean
that
the thing
one.
for kids?
You know, there's an original audience for that.
Nope, that was made for
That was wonderful.
21 and up.
Hey man, I've watched like time lapse builds of the
Yeah.
Titanic. Like, I don't have a place for it. That's the problem with you.
That
Gotta
is the
build it,
problem.
and then you're like, now what?
Yeah, where the fuck
If you
do I
build
put
it,
you?
you need to build shelves.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, well, the guy building the Titanic one, not to get too off topic here,
No,
but
no.
yeah, in the background is all the shelves and the
Yeah.
doors, and
Yeah.
like his basement is his Lego room. If I had more room, I would totally do that.
I wanted that the one that they released, Michael Keaton's Bat Cave.
Yeah,
It has
you
a
did-
Batmobile.
you dropped
Yeah,
that
and I was
image.
like, where the fuck does that go?
Oh, there's a really cool Gringotts one. With
yeah,
like
yeah,
with
and
the,
it goes all the way down,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
through the thing. Yeah.
Well, and see, with all of this, the deals, right? Like the behind the scenes deals that come with the marketing and the Star Wars shit. Like Star Wars is the kind of movie that when you make a
Yeah.
movie, you're like, we got to make a toy, right? Like you need,
Yeah.
like I have.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it Star Wars that really kicked off the level of franchising or
Yeah.
like marketing? Like it was the
Yeah.
first one to really make it realize how much of a revenue generator it could be.
Yes,
'Cause there
it
wasn't,
made
like-
everybody either backtrack and build stuff from
Right.
other years,
Yeah.
or do the Star Wars plan.
It started this catalog thing too, if I'm not mistaken. Like when the action figures first came out, you had to order them. Like you got a booklet.
That's right.
You
No, you
ordered
gotta,
them.
You got you put them in. I remember that.
Right?
Yes.
So- right?
Yeah.
And then every other company was like,
like a little
fuck,
shelving.
that's how we can do that.
Yeah, it's
right?
like a Sears
creates a
catalog.
demand right
the
away
Millennium
for it.
Falcon.
Yeah, like it was, and then that's when it was everything. Like it was like the canteen, the lunch ball. Like
Yeah.
they went crazy
Well, and
with
see,
it.
Lucas
Good
was
thing they've chilled out since. Hey, they don't
Yeah,
do that anymore.
yeah. Nowhere
shit,
near as
right?
much.
Yeah,
Jesus
Star Wars
Christ.
toothpaste.
And it sucks. I will say, being an adult, it does suck because now I see all that shit and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll get the toothbrush. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll get the toothbrush.
toothbrush made for a
Yeah, I'll get the
12-year-old?
bop it.
That's not made for me.
Oh no,
Sure,
I'm the
like-
one. I'm like, this is so stupid. What kind of idiots do they think we are? And then I'll take two, please.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
I might as well get the Leia and the Luke.
I'm like, well, like it's already made. Like they're not just gonna not make it now. So,
Well, like you want to talk dirty deeds? Like who's the biggest shareholder in Disney right now? George Lucas,
of course,
right? Like
He wouldn't sell that thing the way he did unless it was like
but like everything.
my
that-
bloodline's taken care of forever.
His deal.
$4 billion, I think, and then
Yeah.
and then everything else.
Yeah.
he probably still holds almost all the, or gets a big cut of all the merchandise.
He's like, I'll sell it for $4 billion, but I want 20%
Look
every
this-
year after.
right? Yeah.
Look this up. I'm not. I think I remember reading this, but when Disney bought Star Wars, they made all their money back on the toys first before even Force Awakens came
I'm not
out.
surprised.
Yeah.
that that's a true statement.
That's why
I-
they still go crazy with all that shit. Because even if
Why
the
would
movies
he-
tank, they're
why
like,
would
well,
he- yeah.
we'll make all the money on the merch. So
I was
Yeah.
like, why would he sell then at that price, knowing that that's what would happen?
I know, right?
It's
sell
not
for
good.
more, knowing that it's all. Well, his deal is with every merchandising contract.
Yeah.
all the gear comes back to Lucas Farms.
Video games, everything. That's why everything starts with his logo. Still,
Lucas
still starts with his logo.
Yeah.
Like it's
Smart-
and that was
yeah.
the smartest thing he made in that deal. Was like, sure, you own it, but I'm still. You got to put me everywhere on it still. And they're like, fine.
Yeah, so
Right.
he sold for $4 billion, a deal under which Lucas received also 37.1 million Disney shares.
What? The
so
So,
fucked. It's so fucked. It's
now
so
has
fucked.
a net worth of 7.9 billion.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I'm gonna look into this more.
Well,
And
you,
he- and he
the old- the
basically-
Something
original-
to aspire to, right, guys?
Yeah, no kidding. And he gets to be a kid on those sets. Like he can come on set anytime. Like
he's got
Dave
fun-
Filoni shows him just showing up on set, playing with Baby Grogu. Like he has the best life.
You know, you make
ever.
a good point there for a second. J.J. Abrams was given Force Awakens. I think everybody in the industry for a minute was like, okay, maybe he's the guy to take it and go, right? Like big adventure movies, can handle a
'cause
budget.
he did- I think they were like,
have
he
a
did
previous-
Star Trek. He made people like Star Trek
He's got a
again.
previous track record.
Yeah.
And he does great work. So then they think, but it wasn't in the essence of keeping the, what would you call it, like the world intact, right? It was about finding
Yes.
a good storyteller, but
Yes.
not necessarily a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that JJ wasn't a fan, but you
Right.
bring in John Favreau,
Yeah.
And Dave
who-
Filoni.
and Filoni, who like
Yeah.
and what they've done with the Mandalorian, and then really keeping it in that real world. And
Yeah.
it feels to have kicked off all of what is happening now.
It's like new era Survivor, new era Star Wars,
Yeah.
right? You've got finally they were like, okay, who can we hand the creative keys over to and trust? And you've got Favreau's undeniability of being able to create universe after universe, even in the Fields of the Serengeti and remakes of Lion King.
Right.
Can't hold everything against the guy, but Filoni is the guy who I think there's only one or two people who might outschool Filoni.
Is he directing the Mandalorian movie?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
And he directed most of Ahsoka.
Yes.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
started as an animator, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did Clone Wars and...
Yeah.
We owe the world of Star Wars to
Yeah.
Filoni for filling the gap after 1, 2, and 3 with all the animated stuff. Because if there wasn't that, you'd have nothing.
Well, and it seems like Favreau and Filoni, which is the smart decision, are like the Feige of Star Wars now.
Yes.
Because even the creators they're bringing in, like Ahsoka, the showrunner it was Filoni, and then, or no, sorry, not Ahsoka. Ahsoka was Filoni. Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
But they basically were like, "Okay, present your scripts to us, present your story to us, present what you want to do," and then they were like, "Yep." And that's how they should do it. Like, that's really what they need.
You need to audition the story, not audition the talent of the individual who can do a ton of things. You need a fan. You need someone making a video
Lives and
game
breathes
movie
it.
who plays a video game.
Yeah.
You need someone making an X-Wing
And
movie
that's why
who plays with X-Wings.
We've ranted about this, but we don't need to anymore. But a smart decision is letting Kathleen Kennedy step back in the creative process.
Well, how old is Kathleen Kennedy now? She's got to be...
her
in
and
her
Lucas
late 70s?
Yeah.
Like,
It
as
got
old
to
as
be at
Lucas.
least, like, she's been doing this so long, right?
She's original in on Amblin.
But it clearly shows, like, kind of like Lucas is like the creative side. And again, you've served your time. Thank you. But your creative side is done. Like, you don't know what
Yeah,
you're
I
doing
agree.
creatively anymore.
And
like,
that's
you
the
don't,
thing is that
man.
you go force blind.
Well,
right?
yeah, like
you
well, like, look at the things that she took the lead on, like the Solo movie. It's kind of a waste of time.
I liked it. I
It's
actually
okay.
really liked it.
It was okay, but look at where it is now.
He's
That's what
wrong,
I'm saying.
but What are you going to do?
debate. I'll sit
But
down.
No, I
saying,
have nothing to back it up because I haven't watched it in a while. and
I'm just saying, like, look at where it is
Easily
now.
influenced.
It's like, oh,
Aiden, whatever his name was, who had the lead.
the casting was great. Like Donald Glover, like everybody was great. Don't
Okay.
get me wrong. I didn't mind the casting.
Glover was great as
but
Lando.
trying to get like that's the story I'm supposed to believe of how Chewie and Han meet. No,
It doesn't
No.
play dice.
no thanks.
No,
It felt like
I
a kid.
agree.
Maybe if I was 6, 7 years old, yeah, absolutely be
Well,
into it.
when you're
but-
working at this tempo and this level and pumping out this much content around one thing, everything can't hit the dartboard. There's gonna be because, like,
Well,
I mean, okay,
I mean, it should.
Also, if you're gonna do
when
it,
you're
yes,
spending that kind
I
of
feel
money.
like Solo was like they watched A New Hope. He builds up the Kessel Run because even rewatching it yesterday, I love that part of dialogue.
give me more than the
Is she-
Kessel Run.
But that's what I'm saying. So then you know what? Maybe make this Tales of the Jedi or Tales of Star Wars and make it like a 20-minute. Because the whole thing is Solo should have been, the whole movie should have been the Kessel Run. The Kessel Run's in it, and it's not as exciting as Han then brags about it in A New Hope. And then the ending of Solo is bringing back Maul. Like, that was the most exciting part for me, was I didn't expect Darth Maul to show up.
well, he got cut in half, so it was kind of hard to retcon the shit out of that
But
one.
when he shows up, you're like, yeah,
I mean, also,
okay.
Darth Sidious gets pushed down a tube in Return.
And
then-
returns.
and summons the power of
Yeah, he puts his
long
consciousness
lost
in a
dark
different clone.
side and becomes like an AI version of himself.
Yeah,
Like,
what is it? The explanation is he uses he uses so much of the dark force, he can put his consciousness in a clone body.
yes,
And that's what he does as he's
which
falling.
I believe.
I mean, we're
yeah.
not in the realm of
It's
possibility.
not
of-
outrageous,
If
but I'm saying
holograms are coming back, like he could
Right.
use it, like a
Horcrux.
Obi-Wan, yeah. But Obi-Wan's gonna be like, no, that's creepy. If I pull a dead person together to like, I can just do the hologram thing.
Yeah.
and then Palpatine.
you got to get the kids to
he's
come.
Frankenstein.
He's like, now I'm gonna make this really fucking creepy.
listen to
And
me,
then-
Luke. Don't look.
But then put his head the wrong way on to pay
Yeah.
tribute to
Yeah.
C3PO.
My head's on backwards.
Yeah,
Nice callback. All right.
Something also is happening this May the 4th is the 25th anniversary of The Phantom Menace.
Oh, yeah.
Which is back in theaters now.
Yeah.
I did get to see the re-release in the theaters. And,
Nice.
And like, I mean, my happiest Star Wars moment is Phantom Menace, actually, in the St. Vitel mall
yeah?
parking lot in the summer. I was playing Frisbee with Chewie. was doing shots with Han. Like, it was people camped out. They set up they set up cots and mattresses, and you waited until you could get that 12 o'clock the next day showing.
Yeah.
And my God, I think that was where I learned, like, community inside of nerddom is a good thing. Like, and I think as much as Phantom Menace gets shit on sometimes,
It's not Attack of the Clones.
it's not Attack of the Clones. Thank you. I didn't know what to compare it to, but it's not. That's a bad sequel.
Come on.
I think Attack of the Clones is the worst of the prequels.
I mean, but how much did you guys learn about governance?
That's true.
Like,
That's a very good
I
point.
got a political poli-sci degree.
Yeah. What about the treaties?
Yeah.
I was like, oh. That's very true.
That's very true. The politics of Star Wars were laid out thick in Phantom Menace.
Well, and what is the opening? The opening is that they're there to just have a debate, or they're there on a political agenda. Like, they're there to just have talks.
Yeah, it's
And then it gets heated.
like with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan.
Right.
Yeah, and
Right.
then the Droidekas and
Right.
yeah,
Try to
yeah.
ambush them.
What are they, diplomatic exchanges or something?
It's because I think this
big
is
word that means
before
funny
the
things.
Empire, before Palpatine was like, let's just kill everyone. He was like, let's kind of fuck with the
this Order 65.
Yeah. Let's fuck with the treaties and let's fuck with the trades deals and stuff.
Something
like that.
funny to come out of Attack of the Clones, though. No, sorry, it's Revenge of the Sith. My bad.
Hayden's
But-
acting.
Wow. You
I
didn't
hate
believe
saying-
him?
Hey, listen.
You didn't believe that turn? Jeez. Oh man, I'm trying to remember. This is a nothing burger because there was someone who like suggested basically it was in 2 words what his motivation was the whole time. It was really funny. Anyways, great story, Doug. Thanks for telling. If you can look up later on though, and again, sorry to jump into Sith.
Don't do it.
But MTV Awards was a pretty cool thing for a little while when they were actually Jimmy Fallon was hosting, and they did a really good job of superimposing scenes into movies of that year, and they do one with Revenge of the Sith, where he basically is playing Obi-Wan coming down from the ship, and
Fallon's.
Oh
Sith?
no, sorry. He's playing Hayden.
Yeah.
And then it's Ewan McGregor coming down.
Yeah.
And I love it. He's like, and so the insert is that Ewan, Jimmy Fallon's like, you got barbecue sauce in my cloak, and Ewan in real, like the real cut is going, you have done that yourself.
Yeah.
And to this day, Denise and I, my wife, will use that clip all the time. You have done that yourself.
It's so good.
Yeah, look it up. It's on YouTube for sure. It's really funny. It's like kind of that Al music style.
Yeah.
Weird Al.
Ba-da-da.
used to do.
Man,
Yeah.
that's when MTV was on fire. They
Yeah.
did that
Like-
every year. Like
Yeah.
they
UHF kind of shit.
Well, Jack
Yeah.
Black and Sarah Michelle Gellar did Spider-Man, Lord of the Rings, and they did the same thing. They
Yeah.
superimposed them in the actual scene.
like-
Yeah, they just recut it kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
The Attack of the Clones. I mean, the fanfare that Anakin got. I mean, okay, let's be.
He's
honest.
redeeming himself, though.
Put that
That's what I
microphone in
love.
my
He's
face.
on this.
He's redeeming. He's on
on a
he
redemption
is.
tour right
but
now.
hang on, let's be honest for a second with ourselves. He put a mask on, and 3 other guys played stunts. Like, how much of Anakin was coming through a character, just like Mandalorian, for example? How much are we getting of Pedro? Versus are we getting of the stunt team that's involved in
I
this?
wouldn't blame Hayden as much as I would probably blame the writing
like,
and the directing
the
of
script
it.
was
Yeah.
atrocious.
Listen.
It didn't make sense.
No.
How he was just turning into a spoiled brat and an emotional like guy that didn't really seem to like, aside from obviously like it was very transparent, and we all knew it was coming. So like, you know, we're probably all a little hypersensitive to it.
Yeah.
Anyways, like we're keeping a real strong eye on like what's he gonna do? It's like, and then you're like, really? Is that?
This is how
Is
we got
that
here.
it?
Yeah.
These were his middle years, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because it's
He's like, I don't want
even in
just want
Revenge.
to make out with the princess.
Even in Revenge of the Sith, he's temperamental, but then out of nowhere,
Kills children.
Yeah, it's when what's his face is like, do it, and he cuts his head off. Right,
That makes sense to me.
right, and then he just starts having those visions of my wife's gonna die, and then he's just like, fuck everything.
Yeah.
and it's just again, it's Lucas.
But it was sorry.
Well-
The other thing too was on the flip side. Like he was a psychopath, like insane brat of a baby, and like Natalie Portman's like he's mysterious.
Yeah.
Like,
Charming.
she was like so alarmed
like a
by
bad
him for a
boy.
while, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, like you know what, I do love you, and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't see that. Like, there was no. I didn't think there was a lot of connection between those two.
it's 'cause-
Well, it was always
'cause he's
inappropriate
also-
more than it was.
Yeah.
It was the Luke Leia thing again.
Right, yeah.
Like he was
Oh, yeah.
a lot younger than
like
her.
he was
and
a kid and she
Yeah.
was, and then somehow
Adult.
they're the same.
And then,
yeah, it's
do you
like,
ever wonder?
You were an adult in the first one, Princess Padme, and then it's like, well, boys, he grew up though.
Have you guys ever wondered if
I think that's how that works.
if he accidentally fucked the twin instead of Padme? Right, because she had the lookalike.
Keira Knightley?
I can
Keira Knightley?
guarantee it.
Like, do you think?
Yeah.
do you think-
Yeah.
And
That's
was
how
like,
they're gonna be
"Oh,
like,
shit.
And they
I'm
had
sure-
a bastard
Okay, you
child.
can't say
I'm
anything.
sure there's some fan fiction.
Oh,
out
yeah.
there for
Erotic
that.
fan fiction of
Yeah.
Amidala's handmaiden and
Yeah, that's right. I forgot. That's right.
You know,
she
I
had a
gotta-
Saddam double in the first one.
Yeah.
That's
I
right.
haven't. That's the dumb double. I'm also doing a little bit of a Arrested Development
Oh, yeah. So you really.
rehash too. I gotta watch Phantom Menace again. I really haven't, and I think the expectations were so high that
I found it's gotten better with it.
Bring
Yeah.
Ray Park back as Darth Maul at least one
Oh,
more
do
time
it.
so we could
Do
just
it.
get. It's still one of the best lightsaber fights ever in all of the Star
the
Wars stuff we've
reveal
seen.
of the duel,
Dude, just how that
and then
goes.
Duel
like,
of the Fates.
the
with
door
John
opens
Williams.
up. It's a nice wide shot, him in the cloak, and then it goes right to a close up. He lifts up his head, and you're like, "Whoa!" And then he just goes for it, man. Right from And then I love the wide shot. It's like, why is it such a wide angle if the saber's only on one side, and then the other side, and you're like, "What?"
I just want to tell listener that we've seen Ray Park in action. He looks nothing like his character. If you were still wondering, right?
He still knows how to fucking.
Oh, he knows how to move.
Yeah,
he
man.
was offering
It's
lightsaber
wild.
battles at Comic-Con last year.
nice.
For
Am I
like-
killing your continuity? I took my hat off halfway through.
I don't care.
Are we gonna mess? Am I really messing stuff up here?
No, we'll show that.
No,
Just show it.
Yeah.
There'll be a note.
In fact, the rest of the show, will
Director's
just be-
note.
Yeah.
I'll green screen it, and we'll just have different hats. Right? Like every time we
great.
cut to you, it'll be a new hat.
A
What
new
if I-
Mando helmet. Just
Yeah,
Do that.
actually,
I'll
it'll
just
be
keep-
just
Give
helmet.
me some
Yeah.
hats, man.
No, you know what?
I'll do this in real life.
I'll
Practical
just-
effects. Save money.
New Stormtrooper mask.
Yeah, Stormtrooper Darth Vader helmet.
You can do
Mando
whatever you
helmet.
want to this. This is
Free
your.
range.
I am your.
You know what I
muse.
think? I think this, says Doug. Yeah, no, the original three, you're right. Like, we had such grounded characters and such a good story that anything, we're sensitive, right?
We also had nothing to compare it to, and
Yeah.
we're kids.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so they.
Yeah.
What the fuck do we know?
They are protected by our childhood.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure. Well, I was gonna say there's probably a lot of people our age watching those for the first time in late 70s, early 80s. We're like, what is this? Like,
Yeah.
my dad for sure would have been one of those. Like, he doesn't understand anything that's not rooted in real life.
Yeah, it's like my dad.
He sat down when I was
Hates-
watching like Avengers, and he's like, "Okay, like that would happen." Like, yeah, Dad. We're
My
using our
stepdad did that,
imagination
Yeah.
here.
I was like, Dad, Daniel Day-Lewis isn't actually Abraham Lincoln. You
Yeah.
know that, right?
Yeah. He's not Bill the Butcher Dad.
Yeah.
But the shows. Let's touch back on the shows for a second. The Acolyte trailer, we all watched it.
That looks cool.
I'm always up for a new Star Wars show. I loved Andor. Andor's my favorite one out of all of these. Then Mandalorian, then Ahsoka, and then as we
Apparently,
go.
they're saying that Disney. This wasn't in the contract, but it was something they verbally promised Lucas, and the Acolyte is now going against that. But they promised George that everything would be approached from the light side, and if the dark was there, it would be seeing from the light side perspective. And the Acolyte is the beginning of them literally being like, well, let's see it from just the Sith perspective, because even in Andor. It's from the good perspective. Even
is.
when right?
Yeah, yeah.
But the Acolyte is going to be
Well,
mainly...
it's everybody who's like, no, we don't want the
Yeah.
Empire's under, like, this secret empire coming back.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah, and that's what's great about Andor is that there's crisis, there's conflict, there's real, like, there's negotiations, there's deal making.
Well, it's just a
backstabbing.
standalone series. It doesn't have to like.
It focuses on the
rely-
humanity of
Yeah,
what
it-
would
it-
happen in a rebellion, basically.
It works within the world and the context of Star Wars, but it doesn't kind of use like cheap tricks or it's trying to
Yeah.
do all these callbacks and connections and all
Totally.
this stuff. Like it's just going like, yeah, we're gonna tell basically this kind of like thriller style story, political like thriller style story. We'll use it in the context of the Star Wars universe, but it can really stand on its own.
And when it does tie in, it's a very much like,
Subtle.
like
yeah.
remember at the end when
The
it's
inter-
like,
wow.
the inmates were actually building the pieces that make the Death Star. You're like,
yeah, yeah.
beautiful.
And then you find out they're
Nice.
smuggling them. But what about
Right?
Skarsgård's
Oh,
monologue?
yeah.
Where he's like, what have I given up?
Yeah.
What have I sacrificed?
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah.
who is, like, I'm getting chicken skin right now just remembering these scenes.
And it's the first time we've seen the rebellion be affected on people that are not Force users or Skywalkers or Jedi.
This is the whole, if we want to beat them, we have to be dirtier than them.
That's right.
If we want to beat the dark side, you've got to be darker. And then how do you come back from that? While at the same time showing what happens when good intentions fall by the wayside, right? Like the good intention was to take all the Empire tech and like reuse it, and then you still see that people are still fallible, and
that's why I think the Acolyte's
power.
going to be wild, because it's actually like this is the first time it's the birth of the Sith, and like you still might not be cheering for them, but it's from their perspective.
There are always two.
That's right.
Right. So,
and again, the Acolyte that's what it's showing. Is I think it's going to be about the birth of the Sith.
Well, and using Carrie-Anne Moss. I mean, we have 3 Matrix movies with her killing it.
Yeah.
So to bring her in as a Jedi.
Yeah.
Obviously, some sort of elder or teacher in a scenario.
Also, how cool is it to start a story where it's like Jedi are getting murdered? There's a serial killer after Jedi. It's like, whoa.
And that's also what's been happening throughout the galaxy and
that's
the
why
years. Elimination of Jedi over and over.
And that's why it makes sense that this, hey, someone's killing off the Jedi or someone's targeting Jedi, becomes Sith Lords and starts becoming what is going to be known as
when
the
is
Sith.
this set? Like, what's the time frame?
I've heard 200 years before.
I think that's what they said. 200 years before before Phantom Menace. I think
there is an infograph online. You can be like, where does all this stuff intersect when they release?
Because really again, I think this is their way of not tiptoeing. This is their way of get us into the Old Republic. Because the Old Republic is one of the darkest stories in the Star Wars universe, because it's literally their worst battle, because there's not thousands, but there's hundreds of Sith Lords and hundreds of Jedi literally fighting each other, and we haven't really seen that. We've only ever seen like in the shadows, right? Like,
Doug, you this ties into what this is, because I'm interested. You liked Mandalorian, right?
Yep.
Did you like Mandalorian until you had to watch Boba Fett? When Boba Fett was Mandalorian season 2.5.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I treated it like.
That got clunky.
I think they ruined Boba Fett as a character.
Absolutely. Like,
yeah.
I haven't finished the 3rd season of Mandalorian. There's 3, right?
The 3rd season
redeems Boba Fett.
Redeems Boba Fett hard.
That's right. I mean, Boba Fett was like, where is this going to go after a few? And then there's these little cameos. And then, it basically just turned into a Mandalorian season.
And they made him such a pussy. Like at the end of every episode, he's like, I need to go into my bath tank.
my back
so I can heal
chamber,
again.
yeah.
And I'm like, man, Boba Fett didn't seem like this in the OGs.
Well, okay, but they did. Filoni was like, if you're going to bring back Boba Fett, he needs to come out of the Sarlacc pit. Any other way.
Right.
And we're not having this. So the 1,000-year digestive tract story, I liked. I liked that they were trying to do what Andor did. Andor was a political drama, let's say, right? Which could have taken place anywhere.
Yeah.
But then the season finale of Boba Fett was Mandalorian and Grogu.
Well, and I mean,
taken down and saving the day, which it was awesome. It was great.
That might be where Kathleen Kennedy was like, I need my fucking little puppet
and
back.
you know what it was? It was because Boba showed up first at Mando.
Yeah.
And we didn't know how the fuck did Boba come back. So I get it. They were like, we got to make a show where we show how he comes back.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I almost got lost in the first season of Mandalorian, because when it started, I was like, this is cool. And then it's like, oh, okay, we've now got this little character. That's always been part of Disney, whether it's R2-D2 or like, there's always going to be like, they always did a great job of kind of kidifying it, cutifying it. It's not too dark.
Totally.
It's a good balance in my mind. But,
totally.
So I was fine with that. But then it started to turn into what felt like these really kind of like 90s-ish episodic, like, quests, like every episode had a beginning, middle, end, and like they kind of wrap themselves off, and they kind of like littlest hoboed themselves to the next place. But then at least by the I was like, I'll give the rest of the season a chance, and then by the end they kind of tied it all in. And then by season 2 it was more kind of a fluid storyline versus these like little side quests.
And that's, you can always, like, I don't know, as somebody who watches a thing and then we'll watch it again a couple times in the background, I start to pay attention a little bit more critically of it than just like, oh, I like what you're doing. And in this, I was like, this just feels jammed in. This feels like somebody in a room, everybody agreed with them, nobody said you shouldn't do that, because the crime mafia-esque, trying to run the town with Boba Fett. I really liked.
It had
I liked
so much
that the Hutts
potential.
were involved.
It had a lot of cool
it's
potential.
the underbelly of a world you never really get to talk about. You know the bounty hunters exist.
I think if it was like 5 episodes, I think it would have been,
and
or
just
like
that it.
4,
But
I think it would have been perfect.
anchoring in Grogu was like, we won't forget about this cute little thing that you gave us. It's impossible to like.
I think that they didn't even expect the power of what Grogu was going to do in general.
Totally.
For a new audience, which was like the moment Denise, my wife, saw that. I'm only saying my wife because all of your fans, I don't know if they all stalk me like you guys do.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, we find Doug wherever we can.
You guys,
even when he doesn't know we're there.
They all have pictures on their ceilings of me too, right? But shit, I just lost my thought. Yeah, the moment she saw Grogu, I don't think she'd ever watched any Star Wars stuff with me before. All of a sudden, we were hardcore watching Mandalorian to the point she was watching episodes ahead of me. And so I'm not saying that it skewed just to more of a female audience, but definitely to an audience that might have not been as persuaded by just normal Star Wars style stuff. All of a sudden, anyone who would have been very happy to see let's say our day or this year, or sorry, this age's Gremlins, come on, Doug.
A Mugwai?
Mugwai.
Yeah,
Gremlin. Yeah.
What's his name?
Gizmo.
Like
Gizmo.
basically a new Gizmo.
Yeah.
It totally attracted such a new audience to that. So good on them for it. But then I think they realized they had to cat by the tail, and they had to really keep making this stuff. And then they had to go like, we can do a full Boba Fett. I bet you it was on the tail, like Grogu has to be in by a certain point.
And do you guys know that Grogu was almost CGI?
I know. Yeah.
Werner Herzog, the director, who's like, if you don't make that practical, they're going to come.
That's
for
why
you.
he shows up in the first, like he's the mob boss that gives him the deal, right?
Give me the baby.
Give me the baby.
Yeah. And God bless that man.
Well, I watched a lot behind the scenes on it too, and they wanted it as a physical like representation too, just for the acting as well.
That's what it started
I think we still like, even if it does feel robotic still a little bit, I think we respond to it better, especially the audience will, because that's what they grew up with. Again, that suspension of disbelief that like, we know that's not a real thing, but like if it's CG, it's not going to connect in the same way, because we've seen them try to do that and it doesn't work as well.
Well, and when they're holding him, and when they're holding, you can tell that they're like, there's something about knowing that they're holding a real thing than a CGI box that's CGI'd
a green
after.
CGI box.
And again, I hate to say it, but looking at it again, Disney just behind the shadows. And then they can own Grogu. We can give them life-size versions of this that'll move the ears,
dude,
and the eyes will do it, and they do. I've seen it. I've wanted one, and I'm like, fuck. Like, that's part of it too. Is they're like, that's a toy right there. Boom.
I got a little one up there. I got a bobblehead of him. I got a T-shirt of him. Shauna,
and everyone loved Yoda, so they're like, why wouldn't they love Grogu? And it's true.
Shauna, just like Denise, like she's like, are we Mandalorian's back? Yes, please, let's watch it. I'm like, you're asking to watch Star Wars with me? Mm-hmm. Normally, I'm like, I've got you in some sort of Brazilian jiu-jitsu move where you're forced into spending 2 hours with me in this world. But the Rancor in Boba Fett was also practical too. Remember when he was given a Rancor as a gift?
That was awesome.
When you see those things, to your point, Doug, like, we're the ones with the money now who were given this when we were kids. So if you want, it's acknowledging me that I'm in the room. I think is what that is. And that's important.
Well, I think there's an impressiveness of it with the practical effect too, right? Which is like, it's just table stakes now that you can design anything in 3D animation, and they can look bad or it can look good, but you're just like, all right. Right. It's why we can shit all over 3D movies or like movies that are $200 million.
Sonic looks stupid.
Yeah, it's like, it's not very good. Look at those teeth. But we appreciate when we're like, oh, I think that's real, and it's then in,
or is it real?
It's like canon with everything that's been done, and it's usually probably a happy medium. There's probably a lot of they'll add facial features, some of the stuff that needs to look a little more. It's just like, Deadpool, for instance, right? Like the eyes and how they will adjust, or Spider-Man, the same thing, right? Like some extra flourishment because it looks too dead. Some zhuzh, like personality to it. But then, the the fact that it maybe feels a little clunky. It would be interesting. It would be really funny if you're like, actually, that was CG. They made it purposely seem like a robotic, we slightly clunky movie.
Well, I don't want that. Don't ever do that to me.
Have
Fuck
you guys?
I'm sure it's been considered.
The new
probably been done.
And done.
Yeah.
The new Alien movie coming out.
Oh, Romulus.
Some of the way they're promoting they're showing the BTS of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they built
the face sucker. They built a real one.
They built one,
so
and it
it's
just
droned
shows
out.
them fucking using it around set, creeping out the actors, and I'm like, and maybe it's again our generation, but seeing that, I'm like, I'm even more excited for this movie now because I love that. I
think that's a good point, and in wondering just generally, and AI throwing even more into it now, like with Gen Z, whatever, like are they? I think they will to a certain degree, but who knows? Like, are they going to appreciate the effort that goes into movie making in the same way that we grew up? We get the specialty of. Just like the internet, where we grew up, where there was very little, it was almost all practical effects.
Yes,
in a lot of ways. Although, actually, Denise and I were just watching like New Hope or Empire. We're like, fuck that. That's impressive now.
Yeah.
To know what they were, what they only
Industrial
could
Light
do.
and Magic.
ILM at its beginning, but. Like, will people appreciate the fact that those are robots or real life explosions or blah blah blah, like what they did, those maps and stuff like that. Knowing that now almost anything can be created completely from scratch, digitally, and to look real, will people care about those types of things?
I think that's, and I think, and
well,
again,
the horse,
it's so true.
The car replaced the horse,
Yeah.
And now
well, that's what I mean. Will they care?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
do you?
That's why,
do you remember where it all came from?
I hope they my hope is like they appreciate more when things animatronic are built, because really more and more every day it's kind of assumed everything is generated, like CGI generated, or
But
why does that look funny, Dad? Oh, that's real, sweetie.
But are we going to care about, like, nobody cares about film?
That's
anymore, right?
You're
like,
right.
You're right. You know how hard it is to shoot on film versus digital?
Right.
I don't like. Sorry, I do, but like most people are like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I just want to see the cool stuff.
Yeah, and it'll be like kind of like what they did with The Artist. I feel like when that, like, way back when, like, if they do make a movie and film like that, it's going to be about, like, we're trying to honor, the authentic, what it used to be, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's going to be seen
It'll
for
be
that.
like vinyl.
It's not, exactly.
Or
It's
the
not
tape
going to
deck,
actually
right?
be
Like,
done in a productive way of, like, because it's more
People are
expensive.
to want to buy the original canister and get a old-timey reel and go back to that shit.
I had to go back to what you were saying about it being filmed with, like, looking back at Empire and seeing, like, real, like, the ATTs. We know their models, but the way they film it, it's like, shit, man. And in A New Hope, it's so wild for
using matte paintings.
Well, for 1977, the fact that George Lucas did such a cool POV shot, and it's a smaller camera going through the model of the Death Star.
Yes,
but it's the classic POV of the ship going into the track of it. Right,
yes.
Like the way that he did that with thinking of, let's get a small camera going. I'm like, there's something about that innovation that is just so incredible that I'm like,
no one else is doing it because it hasn't been done yet.
Right, man.
Well, and then the editing and, like, he took that all from just looking at old World War II footage.
That's
and how
right.
quickly it was cut, and it was all POV, and then like
totally.
But actually, again, it was just really nice to, like, I don't know the last time I saw it and watch A New Hope intentionally. Like, from the start.
You
know how funny it was to not, like, wait for, like, a TBS logo to show up and cut to commercial.
We'll be right back.
It was crazy. Because
5
it goes
hours
to a
to watch
moment where,
one
like,
episode.
fade to black for a second. And it goes, like, oh yeah, there's no commercials. But the opening scene, like, to that point of, like, the camera angle alone on the models and, like, what it took to have the cruiser, but like the big huge warship come in. My brain's starting to be shot. I called it. I referred to it earlier. I had the name. Anyways, it flies.
Oh, the Galactic Cruiser.
Yeah, it flies overhead of the camera.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
with
like
these
at
giant
such a
lights
great angle,
shooting,
rather than just like a flat or like maybe a more obvious
or a wide shot.
It
of
showed
side
its
by
scale
Yeah.
that felt undeniably huge by putting the camera under the belly of it, like it was a huge whale. Right. Like,
and
it was
then
so
going
cool.
back to what we were talking, Spaceballs takes that same thing and goes way over the top of it, but it's the same shot. And it's like 10 minutes of the same
No,
shit.
they actually do it more on a profile.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
right.
It's
right.
flying through like a snake.
Right.
I actually rewatched that not long ago, and it feels way less longer than it was. I saw it in the theater with
Oh my
dad,
God, so it just felt
and
tedious.
it felt like it was forever. and I learned
Yeah.
so much about comedy that day. Like, just like I'm
Oh.
like, it keeps going. It keeps.
One thing I have to say about the concert yesterday that made the whole theater laugh, and I forgot how funny it was, is when they get back to the Jawas thing and it's all destroyed. They're like, Luke's like, it's definitely sand people. And that's when Obi-Wan's like, well, no, they want you to think that. And then he's like, so how did they blow this up? He's like, those could only be of stormtrooper blasters. They're the most precise shooters in the galaxy. The whole theater just erupted laughing.
I caught that
and it was
too.
so good. I was
like,
like, oh my God, that's amazing.
I'm like, that's so early in all this, because obviously the biggest joke is that they can't hit
can't
the
shoot
broadside
shit.
of a barn.
Yeah.
And I remember, I was like, I never caught that before.
Yeah.
Also, watch it again. So a really good friend of mine, when we watched it as teenagers, and when he returns to find out that his uncle and aunt have been killed, and C-3PO's holding a dead Jawa, and kind of goes to him and then throws it on the fire.
Yeah.
He added this like dialogue that C-3PO said, and just watch it again where it's just like, hey Luke, you want a dead Jawa? And then Luke walks right by and dejected. He's like, oh, well, fine then. Fuck you. And throws it on the fire. I still think of that to this day. Funny. Like, that was 25 years ago.
That's so great.
Yeah.
So great.
In the
I love that.
series on Disney, they show buying the cameras that they use to get the rotating shots for the X-Wing fights.
Oh, yeah.
And then like, okay, let's take it apart. All right, how do we make it do this? And it was the first time you got to have a chase scene where everything was moving in two different directions, because one camera was rotating over what was being chased.
Right.
Yeah.
And one camera was flying in and out. And then they splice those two shots together and you get the dogfight sequence, right?
That's right. And
long before anybody could do like
And
World War
that's-
II Red Baron shit.
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool is like there was no like, oh yeah, we know it. Like you got to just use this camera and this thing. The cinematographers were probably just the innovators, and they were doing innovative shit without realizing like, hey, this is going to set a standard for how we're going to film this, because it was really exactly what you said.
Industry standard.
How do we do this? Like, how do we do this? And these guys are like, well, my brain's thinking maybe let's see if this works.
Well, and now
right?
you
like,
give them credit. I mean, ILM 35, 40 years later, they invented the wall. Right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much their
The volume?
The volume.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
And I mean, there's arguments to say that your set decorating crew has been incredibly affected by shooting this, but at the same
Yes
time,
and no.
you could redistribute that workforce to making a better prop and environment around them, right?
Yeah.
Like now you're not having to build a huge set. Now you can have a set change whenever you need it.
yeah.
It makes things more accessible, and then it also, like, from a lighting perspective and from an acting perspective and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of like, you know, it's somewhat like kind of crying for the candlestick maker with a light bulb coming out.
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, the technology is just older now. It's the same.
Yes.
Matte painters probably don't exist anymore either, because now you like it's almost depressing how little needs to be done on the external around, say, the actual action, which is like, you know, you look at even I was, you know, I watch behind the scenes all the time, and just everything they paint in afterwards, like for The Great Gatsby, for instance, like most of those outdoor scenes, like 75% are CG or are painted.
Yeah,
in
they just
after.
wanted the bones, and then they're gonna add it all in post later.
Like the whole thing's shot on like on a dock somewhere, like in a shipping yard, and then they're like, all right, now it's 1920s New York.
Yeah, exactly.
There you
Because
go.
you just needed a big rusty wall to shoot in front of.
Yep.
No, the things that, I mean, you can look at like Cameron. I mean, Cameron is James Cameron and the technology that he's given filmmaking, but the stuff that like, there's more respect, and I don't know why that is, for I think the Star Wars world and what they created than any other universe being built around that time. And I think that has more to do with the fact that they were reinventing the game than anything else. Like once you figure out, like you've unlocked a bonus level, right? And you're like, oh, we can do this now.
I think it was also too, is kind of what you were saying, is Lucas was very, like, again,
He picked the best.
everybody takes a little bit from everything. They take what inspires them. So you read a really good book, all of a sudden you start writing things that are kind of like having twists.
You're
like
trying
this,
to be as
right.
far from the idea as possible, but still.
So Lucas took he took all his favorite inspirations, all his favorite movies, the Dune book. Like, there's so many, literally in Star Wars, they make a spice joke.
Yeah.
They're like, you'll be thrown in the spice,
That's
blah,
right.
blah, blah, right? That's right from Dune, right? Like, Seventh Samurai, like right? But nobody had done it in space, and nobody had really explored sci-fi to that level
And
yet,
then trying to create zero gravity.
Yeah,
Trying to create a world where, like,
'Cause you have the
your battle
space-
isn't on land, your battle is in space.
Yeah,
So now you have to defy all of the rules of space.
And really, cinema at that time was like the moon landing, everyone debating if that's real or not. 2001 Space Odyssey.
You think it's real? Oh, you rube.
And then Star Wars. Like, and Lucas.
I thought we were talking about the plandemic here after a while. Guys. Let's get to the real
The
shit.
Great
But
Reset,
Lucas-
come on.
But Lucas is like, you know what? It's one of those things you look at, it was the right time. He was the right guy, and it was the right, like, studios were 20th Century Fox.
It's
Like,
lightning,
again,
it's lightning in a bottle.
it's literally lightning in a bottle. And when that lightning struck, it wasn't at the degree now, right? Where the next thing 20th Century Fox was like, you have a sequel, right? Now it's like, you have 17 shows.
You have a
14
universe, right?
Yeah. You have a universe now, right? So that's still
Where are
like,
we going in 40 years?
and Lucas, and again, when Star Wars came out, because Lucas had such a hard time finishing it, he did not have a sequel in mind. It was just Star Wars. It became A New Hope.
So
when it was like, I can do a sequel.
I've always understood
that's
it.
true.
I've always understood it that he had at least the 6 stories figured out.
He says that, like, he says
He
that
says that a
after,
lot
but at the
after
time,
the fact.
he lost financing when he was halfway done.
Well, yeah.
And then he sold his apartment, lived in the Millennium, like lived on set to get the movie done, because 20th Century Fox was like, this is a waste of money. This is not going to make money.
I do know
then
that.
It exploded. And, like, don't get me wrong. You can tell the way Lucas made the first one. I think it started off where he was like, I got 6 in mind. And then when they pulled funding and it became a nightmare, it became, I need to finish this fucking movie or I'm going to kill myself.
But I almost thought it as, like, not so much of, like, from a strategic side of, like, I want to make 6 movies. It's just that he wanted the world to, like, to call it episode 4.
Yeah.
Like, was bold enough that he did a scroll without credits, and then he got fined $50,000 for that by the Directors Guild.
Yeah.
Like, to,
Yeah.
that he was the first to do that.
That's right.
And but to go like, it's gonna be episode 4. Like, you have to have some
Everyone's
balls
like, what?
and some backup to go like, I've written 3 other episodes, even if it's just like synopses of each one to build that
like a
universe to get it
one-page.
there.
Yeah.
Like, there's got to be some thinking behind that and something to green light.
That's why I always give that guy credit that he comes back.
Oh yeah.
Or
20 years after the first one, he's like, okay, I'm going to finish it. I'm going to do the first 3. I did the 4, 5, and 6.
Take some balls to
Gonna
get
do-
paid for that.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
Crazy, though. Like, that's why I'm saying, like,
Oh, he's a maverick in his own
yeah,
right.
and,
But-
like, Lucas will always be on. Like, it's his baby.
Lucas is like,
and,
I've heard people, when they meet Lucas, they just shut down. Like, he doesn't, you get nothing from him.
and he's so personable, apparently. Like, he's a nerd. Like, he's like, hi, and he's kind of shy.
Yeah,
and,
like, he's not,
he's very shy, kind of.
not
too,
the guy
so.
who, when people come up and they're like, oh my God, the world you've given me. And he was like, why?
People have joked and
nice
said
to
that
meet
Dave Filoni and him because they're the same, are the only ones that they'll like
Nerd
be
out over.
super like you can't stop them from talking. Like, those are the only 2 people that bring that out of each other, and it's because they're like almost the same person. Like, Filoni is such a Lucas. It's even the way he conducts himself.
I going back to how much he had preconceived. I was just reading up a little bit on the Force and where it came from, and like it was actually more like by a 4th draft. Like he was calling it was the Force of
not
others,
yeah.
and like it was. It wasn't defined even in A New Hope very well in the drafts he was making. So I can't imagine how much of that world was solidified in previous 3 episodes.
But then when you interview him and you ask him these questions, he has these long,
because he's thought about it, right?
like, the Force is this, the Force
He
is that.
also, if you listen to how he's describing the Force, it's meditation. It's how monks
it totally
meditate,
is.
right? And it makes sense.
Well,
the
and
Jedi are
the
basically monks.
the posing of training
and Jedi are space
floating
monks. They
and
can't have ties to, like, you can't have a
can't be
significant other,
married, can't have
right?
kids.
It's like, and
can't
again,
have real estate.
Lucas never said these are all original ideas.
Yeah,
it's
very
just Lucas
monk-like.
was very clear. Like, this is what inspired me, the monk life. And when you look at the Jedi, you're like, that makes sense. That Jedi would be the monks of that.
monks with
Time.
lasers. That's what it should have been called.
Monks with lasers.
Monks with lasers. Guys,
Monks in space.
Monks.
That sounds like the porno title.
Laser monks.
Laser monks.
Laser monks.
It's funny that you mentioned
I'm
laser.
trademarking that right now. You guys fuck off.
I've been watching. I've been rewatching Laser Cats on YouTube. Like, have you guys?
Yeah.
ever
Oh
seen-
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I've been rewatching.
It's not,
those. Those are
it's
so
not
funny.
laser cats again, is it?
And then Spielberg comes in.
Yeah,
Laser Cats.
Yeah. Laser cats. Oh Jesus.
Okay, well, we're closing in on the end of this thing here, and I had
What are hopes for the future? Like again.
Yeah, let's do that, and then we'll play some games.
I like
and
you
get
had
out
a
of here.
plan where like a full set out list of
Yeah.
things that just in case we haven't gotten to like any of it. Like this is really this is really nice. It's been
love it.
It's been very organic conversation.
Hell yeah.
I always have an out.
So Disney's
Never tell
kind
me
of-
the odds, so to speak.
The one thing I think
See what
Disney
you did
gave
there.
us is a little bit of future telling. They are doing another. I think the next movie, other than the Mandalorian,
Knights of the Old Republic.
is it's a continuation of Rey.
Yes.
Rey's getting her.
So Rey-
There's
and
four
it's-
movies apparently.
Yeah,
coming out.
so there's one where it's supposed to be the beginning of the fourth, like the first Jedi, which James Mangold's doing, which
Yes.
is wild.
I love
He's
me
great.
some Mangold.
They're doing the Mandalorian movie, and then I know they're doing the Rey, which is interesting because it's 15 years
Post
after Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker.
So the idea is that she's hopefully.
I have to ask you something.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm going to forget.
No, please.
You play the games.
Yeah.
Is what's his face from the video
Cal
game?
Kestis.
Do you think
Okay.
Cal Kestis is coming with?
This is my
Rey's
big
movies?
theory. So I know for a fact that actor signed on to make an appearance live action. They didn't tell
Did you
him
watch
what.
Shameless?
No.
Okay, then I have no reference.
I mean, I've seen an episode.
yeah.
They didn't tell him what that would be at one point. So at one point, remember in The Mandalorian when Grogu sent out a signal?
Yes.
I thought it was going to be him, and then I didn't think it would be Luke. And then that thing happened. That was amazing. Don't get me wrong.
Do you know?
But the last
I'll
game
hold it. ended.
The last game of Cal Kestis' story ended where it is heavily implied that he is
in the 15-year?
he's going to meet. I
range.
think he's going to be part of the new Order of the Jedi with Rey. Like I wouldn't
I
be
want to
shocked
see it so bad.
if Rey's movie opens up and he's there as one of the Jedi training. And again, people that play the video games will be like, whoa. Like, and then, you know, because
It's all
like
canon now,
'cause-
Doug.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, are the video games canon?
they are. They've
And
made
Shameless is canon now.
Yes, that's why I asked you if you'd seen it.
They
yeah.
made his
Yeah,
games
that's
canon,
a
and
weird
especially
William H. Macy is showing up in Knights of the
Yeah.
Old Republic.
Yeah, he's
Drunk
General Grievous.
As
super wasted.
yeah, yeah. He'll be
no, but
stealing from every young Jedi. out
I
there.
think that, and I think it makes sense to make Cal Kestis show up because they don't need to do an origin story thing. It's 15 years later.
played 2 games
This
with
is
him.
one of Rey's crew.
Yeah.
right. So I think he's going to lead there for sure, and I think Ezra. I think it's going to be Ezra.
Yep.
I think it's going to be Rey. I
Ezra's a
think it's gonna
missing
be Cal
Jedi from the
Kestis.
Clone Wars that went hiding off into the world of the whales.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah,
Who was brought back in Ahsoka?
I'm just excited to
Damn it.
see
I gotta watch that.
Star Wars continue past Skywalkers and actually
We're done. I think we can all admit we're done with the
and a new
Skywalker
era of
side.
Jedi. Like we've had 9 movies of basically the Jedi getting killed off, trying to rebuild. Let's see them rebuilt. What does that world look like now? Right? Like hopefully Palpatine's gone for good. And
You can make whatever new Jedis you want from whatever factions you want, with
Yeah.
whatever stories you want,
And
as long
Rey-
as you always remember to tip your hat to maybe mentioning them a couple times,
Well,
maybe talking about something of lore
Yeah.
while you're in it. Because throughout the first 9, we've always had the lore of the Jedi. Now we're getting the Acolyte, which will be about the
and
Jedi. Now we're
Rey-
getting Tales of the Empire, which will be about the Empire. Like you're building around it.
well, and Rey's going to, or whoever is the Jedi with her, they're going to teach the ways of the Force differently because literally Yoda destroyed the texts. Remember in Last Jedi?
But who's the heel?
So, but I like, so what's interesting is Rey's
Rey's the only one who
Journey-
knows the true text.
but like Rey's journey to the Force was different than, you know what I mean? Like it was similar to Luke's in the sense of like just an everyday person in the middle of nowhere ends up being like, say, a chosen one with the Force. But like that's what I mean is like the ways of the Force are going to be different. I don't think it's going to be how we're used to, and that's exciting because like
I think they're going to expand on what powers you can get to
I
because
don't-
we've only seen what is rudimentary, which is forced transport, forced mind control.
Well, and
like, the things you can do in the games are insane.
oh yeah, it's
like
awesome.
and it only makes sense that the deeper level of meditation you get, like when you get to like operating Thetan level or something for a Jedi, right? Like,
Well, and
you can unlock some seriously cool shit because if Palpatine did it, Who's to say you can't do that on this side?
And I think a Jedi's tool, at least the way Rey's going to teach, is love. Love is something that can bring
I would like accept
their power.
Love, if I
but
could.
like what
Love
I mean is like
too...
this idea that Jedis can't have a significant other.
Oh, okay.
Can't have families. They have to be stripped away from their parents and taken away from them.
Emotional connection.
Yeah, like I think they can get rid of that, and that's going to make Jedi stronger.
She's going to break the chains of the Jedi.
Right, and like and I thought that was the worst part of the Jedi. Like, look, like it's kind of fucked up when it's like
it is because
let's take this kid away from his
Catholicism.
family. Yeah, exactly.
It's taking it's a man of the cloth. It's all that dumb shit.
And again,
right?
if this is something from the Old Republic, it's also Lucas kind of again, it's overshadowing people following a religion from 2,000 years ago, the way it was taught 2,000 years ago.
You're talking great storyline.
There's a little bit of issues there.
What if Rey has to break whatever remaining Jedi Council?
There is not.
There is.
She is the remaining. She is. That's what I'm saying. Like her, Cal Kestis, Ezra, like they could.
She has to leave everything behind that she's learned.
It's a new era. The only thing that coexists, or the only thing that should exist, is that the Jedi serve the light of the Force, and the Jedi try to bring balance to the galaxy. Like that is the core thing. But again, I don't think they need to be stripped away from when they're kids. I don't think they need to be told like, hey, you got to live like a priest. I don't think they need to do that.
No.
I think they need to be more about community, if anything.
They got to watch out for each other's backs.
And again, love can bring out like...
They got to be homies.
Again, in Rise of Skywalker, it was lame. But ultimately what made Rey the best Jedi come out was bringing Kylo Ren
bringing Ben back from...
to the good side.
Let's not forget...
And love...
Let's not forget about all the scandals with the Jedi and the Padawans, behind closed doors.
Yeah,
like they need to get past that as well.
That's
so
right. They got to curb that. They got to get past that.
Yeah, that's
they got
the Church of the Jedi. They've been hiding that pretty bad.
Well, I mean, isn't Tenton 1 kiss your sister? Like
kiss your sister,
kissing cousins
twice.
Yeah,
one of them is a very heroic moment of how you kick back and you put your hands behind your head like you've just got.
I'm just wondering when they're gonna bring Iron Man back, but okay.
Okay, I got one question, and you brought it up earlier, and it's just come back to me here with what happened in Mandalorian. I think that was Favreau and Filoni giving us what we didn't get in Last Jedi, which was a deep-faked Sebastian Stan lookalike, almost like when Luke shows up in Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I'm telling you guys, I had that saber upstairs before it made it into the room here, and I was just playing with it while I was watching. That thing was soaked in tears by the end of that scene.
Yeah,
my lip was quivering. I was heavily because I was like,
because that's the Luke.
That's
we know.
the Luke, the black glove, black suit, green lightsaber, walking away from Return.
Yeah,
where's he been? And just getting that for the 7+ minutes you get in the end of that episode was more than enough.
And Lucas Lucas has said, the whole reason why
I get worked up again.
The whole reason why Luke wears the black in Return of the Jedi is he wanted the audience to think up until the last minute that he might turn. And you do. Yes, you do.
The square off in the end, the dad, can I bring you home, Dad?
Totally.
Right?
Yeah. And that's why, and he's smart because again, like, it's also like walking around wearing all white. It's like Boy Scout and walking away all in black. People might be like, "Well, let's steer clear of this guy."
It's the
right?
Johnny
like,
Cash of the galaxy.
It's an interesting tactic. And again, I got to going back to that. I don't think anybody expected Luke to come back in that way. And
who
was
is it?
so
A beacon
awesome.
goes out. Like Doug. Watching.
I don't know. I just like it's funny because I was being more of a nerd about it or more of a cynic about it because it was almost just like it was that deep fake or like the still kind of just in the edge of the hidden uncanny valley for me. Like
it did have some critiques.
The eyes were dead, and so
the eyes were dead.
It just felt a little hard to kind of get in that moment there.
I get it.
It was a cool episode of like and how it even led up to it.
Well, watching him do all the moves, walking through, and you're like, is it? Is it not?
Yeah.
And also, sorry, in all fairness, it was also ruined for me because I didn't.
Oh, someone!
I didn't watch it for 2 days, so of course the world had to let me know.
The world's like, here,
he's back. I'm like, fuck.
I actually
just the headline: Luke Skywalker, Mandalorian.
You know, I actually hate that we live in a I miss like you brought up Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, for instance.
Yeah.
I miss the days where that shit didn't get spoiled for you
Well,
because people weren't
No, I agree
monsters.
with you.
And maybe-
Now I force myself to watch things.
Oh, I
Sometimes
know, like-
where Claudia's like, "Aren't you so tired?" I'm like, "But someone will post it tomorrow,
Yeah.
and I don't want it ruined for me."
Well, that's. I think I was even talking to you.
Kills
Was
me.
I talking to you about Deadpool? No. Who was I talking to? Like, we're going the day of.
It was
or like-
us we were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to.
And-
Yeah, it's not. No.
But I actually there's one blip in the community, in the nerddom community of the MCUs and the Star Wars and all that kind of stuff, that they actually did a really good job, because basically everyone had to plead, like all the actors, and like, hey guys, like, don't ruin it. Like, you want to find out just as much as everyone else. Don't ruin it for people. Like, they had campaigns going for it, but it was for Endgame. And like,
Oh, yes.
actually, like,
Yeah.
Oh, the embargoes and everything. Yeah.
well, no, it was like people going like it was actors and
Yes.
going like, hey, you watching this?
Yeah.
Don't ruin it for someone else. Why would
Yeah.
you do that? And with what happened with Iron Man, like, even though I saw it in the first couple of days, I don't think I saw anyone blow it for, like, on socials or what, at least in my world, for quite a few weeks.
Yeah.
I was
Was kept
surprised. Like,
under-
everyone
you're
just
right.
kind of kept that under wraps.
Yeah, him doing it and Cap holding the hammer too. That was
Yeah,
something that was
all
kept
of
under
that.
wraps too. All of it.
None
Even
of that-
on your
Yeah.
left.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
With the radio
Yeah.
crackle where it
Yeah.
all starts and you're like,
Like,
well,
just
and
none of that got ruined.
The Russos released a letter. Remember, saying,
I remember
like,
that,
please,
yeah.
like, please, fans, don't ruin it.
Yeah.
Marvel then like CC'd it. Basically, it was like, guys, seriously, please don't. And you know what? Like, yeah, thank
There
you.
was just a moment of empathy, and
Yeah.
even the trolls were like, all right, not this one.
yeah,
We'll be
Yeah.
back. But
let's
Yeah, yeah,
celebrate
yeah.
Christmas together.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, so let's do one thing I had on the list here. So I let ChatGPT close out the show
Oh,
for
yeah.
us here. So
Finally.
yeah, right. Gotta throw this.
That's how these podcasts should go.
Yeah. So I let ChatGPT
AI
make the
involved.
lists for us, and then I go, oh, should I trust that? I'd say 6 out of 10 times you could trust ChatGPT. So we'll see what happens here. So I asked ChatGPT to make us a list of would you rathers that are funny, dark, or stupid.
Okay.
Nice.
So
Nice.
the first one that's coming up here is: would you rather have Jar Jar Binks as your life coach, or have to listen to C-3PO narrate your every move? Doug?
Oh, to me first. Definitely C-3PO, because I think he would just add that British wit that would make my life seem a lot more exciting, even though it's neurotic. That's a lot more than Misa. In everything.
Yeah.
Misa want to go for food?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
more than Misa can handle.
Yeah.
It's too much for
Misa
Misa.
think you can really do it. Misa say you put your mind to anything, it will
Misa say
happen.
your trauma needs to be exposed.
You know, it's gonna be like Seinfeld. Like Misa will become Serenity now.
Misa! Misa! Charles?
Misa now.
I gotta go with C-3PO just because you can turn him off.
This is
At-
true.
at any point, you can be like-
ChatGPT fucks up. They don't know that there's an off button.
You can be like C-3PO, just power down, bud.
Yeah,
And
yeah. All right.
Whereas Jar Jar, I think you have to kill him to power him down.
I think I'd
so.
kill myself. I think I just.
Oh, Misa, jump out the window.
I don't know. You ever see any of those guys get plugged in?
That's true.
That's a good point.
Yeah, they've got a never-ending gobstopper of a fucking power
But
outlet.
there is an end.
I would go with 3PO as well too, because I could do it in like however many languages he speaks and probably learn.
God,
you
that's
know,
funny.
like whatever.
10,000 languages?
Yeah, or 10 million lines of
10 million.
something. All
Oh,
right.
I love it.
Would you rather fight 100 Ewok-sized Rancors or one Rancor-sized Ewok?
That's funny. Well, probably the Rancor-sized Ewok, because again, you could kick that thing.
Okay, but like that's you're also considering the giant spear and the giant slingshot that are now associated with the giant Ewok.
The Rancor would have that shit?
No, the Rancor-sized Ewok
Yeah.
would have a Rancor-sized slingshot and a Rancor-sized spear and a Rancor-sized.
Yeah.
He's throwing boulders on you now.
I think Ewok size. How many?
that shit.
100
100
Ewok-sized
Ewok-sized
Rancors.
Rancors sounds horrifying.
Yeah.
Just like it would. Just,
Yeah.
It would. Oh my god. It would. Yeah. It would be just a whole bunch of just little like
Yeah.
massive teeth.
It'd be like
things,
giant gizmos running around.
I was thinking Gizmo. No, what, there was something that was kind of like Gremlins, critters. It's like
Oh, yeah.
a bunch of critters.
Critters.
Good pull.
a
And
great one.
a Rancor-sized Ewok is at least you're dying by cuteness, and it'd be like jub and like
Yeah.
yeah.
Plus, if I have
it's a bassy jub.
Yeah.
Plus, if I have C-3PO still, I can just hold that up, and then that thing will
And
like
speak. Yeah, 'cause
bow.
that,
it'll bow. That's their god.
Good call.
So.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna go with one Rancor-sized Ewok too. I think now that you guys have, would
Shone
you
some light on it. Some practical light on it. You've come around. That's good.
would you rather be stuck in an elevator with Darth Vader after he ate a bad burrito, or with Jabba the Hutt during a heat wave?
ChatGPT
Jesus.
sucks. Because
I mean that's a trick question in a way, because like the only one who suffers in
Is
an
Darth.
elevator. Yeah, Darth Vader.
That's why I was like, ChatGPT
he's
sucks.
and he's inhaling that shit hard.
Yeah.
Like, it's like
yeah.
That's
Like, if anything, I'd be more like pumped to be in that elevator to witness. Hey, dude,
you wouldn't notice a thing. You'd be just suffering.
Yeah.
You're like,
just start convulsing.
and then you're just hearing
Yeah.
the elevator music of "Girl from Ipanema" playing. You're like,
But then when you'd be like,
and like the rebreathers all like
when you
choked up.
go back to the staff room with all the stormtroopers, you'd be like, dude, I was on the elevator with Darth, and I think he was eating his own shit.
I would come out of the elevator.
He was being really weird in
no
that
wonder
mask,
he's such
man.
a grump.
You guys all do the thing when the elevator door opens. You do the force thing, right? Where you-
Oh, yeah.
I would do that. I would just make my exit and be like,
Sure, we do, Michael.
I do really like. I'm a sucker for that. That one. Speaking of the random commercials that have nothing to do with Star Wars, I think it's BMW where the kid's dressed as Vader.
Oh.
and he's
Yeah.
going like this,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the dad's
yeah.
in the inside, clicking
Yeah.
the car.
I use that as an example very often as good storytelling in 30 seconds.
I love that one. I really do. I still love that commercial all the
It's
time.
great.
Yeah.
Would you rather have to wear Princess Leia's metal bikini for a year, or have Wookiee hair for the rest of your life?
I was born with Wookiee
I mean,
hair.
I was gonna
so-
say,
I'm pretty Wookieed too.
Sorry,
Yeah.
there's an option.
So I win.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What's a little bit more? Right?
Actually, I'll one up you, ChatGPT. I'll do 1 year as a Wookiee wearing Princess Leia's bikini, because that's basically what.
do you know how many Wookiees you're gonna have coming after you, man?
Oh, dude, every day.
You can have like
Depends
the.
on the support you need.
That's true.
Do you get the height of Wookiee like as well, or you just the
That's
hair?
a good question.
Yeah, like
Because
does
at least you're
everything-
tall.
Yeah.
That's not as.
With our luck, it's just the hair.
And you'd inherit the ability to rip somebody's arms off.
Yeah.
yeah, right.
So-
right. And, then
And
it's like,
you make some good like sideshow money at
Oh,
the circus.
You could be the instead of the geek, the Wookiee.
Yeah.
Okay, one
Freak
more.
show, not
yeah.
sideshow, sorry.
Would you rather have to communicate only through Wookiee roars, or have Jar Jar Binks as your wingman on a night out?
oh my god.
Wait, are you communicating through Wookiee Wars on a night out as well, or just communicating in general?
just in general?
Okay.
You have to like.
So your only communication is Chewie.
Okay. Well, you guys will love this. So we're watching. You know, now everyone, including ourselves, watches everything with closed captioning now.
God damn it!
Which
Yes.
is interesting. But so they've been watching. They've been interpreting Chewbacca, and the first time it just says "arg." like so that's what he's saying, and then later on it's "gah." Like they're like, I don't know, like we know he's saying stuff, but like we're not actually gonna put what he says. So apparently interpreted, it's just still the same thing. It's "arg" and then "gah." And I just think that's really funny. He's just running around making a bunch of like expressions like God, come on.
Yeah. He's just
Anyways.
like he's like an old dad. Just disappointed with everything. And then Han's like, "Yes, I know, Chewie. We do
Yeah.
need to do our taxes."
Yeah.
Jeez, it's like what?
They're trying to make him seem like less of a jerk, and they're like, no, he's saying really profound things. Like,
Yeah.
That is a good point.
Yeah, women's rights are important, Chewie.
Yes, thank you for your contribution there, Chewie. He's like,
Everyone has the right to vote. Inclusion is necessary.
Thank you, Chewie. That
Well,
is-
Chewie's like,
we'll
like
take
I mean,
that under advisement, Chewie.
fuck. Oh, it's eluding me. Charles, help me.
Barf.
Not barf. No. Oh, no, I got it.
Barf from
Chewie's the original Groot, right?
Yeah,
because
yes,
everybody
he
speaks Wookiee,
Except
right?
Han,
Like everybody's
yeah.
always in full fluent Wookiee language.
Yeah.
and then everyone at the end of
Yeah.
Guardians understands.
I think
Groot.
they're doing the same with Groot too. He's like,
Yeah.
bro, he said that in a different intonation. You don't speak Groot.
So the
He was
last
actually
uh,
talking about the law of thermodynamics.
I hope the last Chewie appearance will be him just talking to the camera, and it's like a monologue, and it's like, "Hey, guys. No, but because we
he's like-
understand now." He's like, "Hey guys, so I just want to be honest with you." And
Yeah.
We speak it now, so we understand what he's saying.
No, he went through just trauma all this time, and he's like, I think I can finally talk now.
yeah.
I think I've finally gotten through this dark period. How are you?
Yeah.
We need to talk more.
Yeah. And then somebody says something and it triggers him. He's just
and then rips their arms off.
Regression.
Fade to black. All right, well, listener, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode, specifically our May the 4th special. I'm looking really forward to doing these one and dones more often. I think this might be a possibility, depending on the theme and the conversation and the people in the room.
It's gonna be a new series.
Yeah,
Sounds
definitely
like the right workload for you too.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more, Captain. That being said, this is the part of the show where we tell you if we've missed something, if we were on the tip of something, and you were like, "Say it," and you want to be featured on the show. There is a voicemail
Hand shot
link.
first.
Yeah. There's a link in the show notes where you can leave a voicemail. We don't care what the name you is when you leave it, if that's even proper English.
That was terrible.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
We don't care if you use your real name or
What
not.
the name you is. That's what you said, right?
Yeah,
and then you had to question if that was proper English. I think that's the sadder part.
By name you use.
the nomenclature by which you go by.
Yoda would have said that was bad grammar.
Exactly. Even the guy.
Stupid you
Bad
are.
grammar that was. Speak proper English. Yes. I want all of you to feel included. So leave a voicemail and be like, hey, this is Darth Vader. Or hey, this is Darth Sidious. Or hey, this is whoever you want to be from whatever universe.
Execute order 66.
Gregory. Yeah, if you want to be Adam the Radar Tech from SNL.
No.
Like, I mean.
Yeah. I was going to say Gregory was a stormtrooper.
I rewatched those yesterday, by the way. Undercover Boss.
Those are so good. Oh, he's totally Kylo Ren.
I knew he was Kylo Ren when he walked in and said, "Hi, I'm Matt."
Yeah.
Everybody's like, my buddy saw him in the
Bobby
shower.
Monahan.
Said Kylo Ren's shredded.
And the other thing worth watching on this day as well, of course, is Triumph, the insult dog. When
Yes.
he goes to, I think it's for Phantom Menace.
It
when everyone's
is,
in
yeah.
line.
Hey,
Much
nerds. Question for you. What was Han Solo dipped in? And everyone's like, Corbin, and he's like, the answer is, who the fuck cares?
I need to tell you, listener, if you haven't seen it, Conan Needs a Friend has Robert Schmiegel on.
It's great.
Yes.
It's one of the best episodes.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
It's great. It's
Can't
great.
wait. Can't wait.
Do it.
Have you seen him show up in Curb? We're
I
sidetracking,
didn't know
but
what he
we'll-
looked like until this episode. I really didn't know.
Everyone thinks he's like a Mexican guy.
Well, also, like, I'm late to the party on like, oh, that was Robert Schmiegel the whole time.
Yeah.
Like that's,
Yeah.
and then when you listen to Conan's podcast, totally adjacent. When you listen to it, you start to get into the world of Simpsons and SNL and his life before late night.
Yeah.
The stuff where he brings friends on that he wrote for
Yeah.
or with
Yeah.
are the most magical episodes.
One of my favorite things he does is he goes around. He's covering the World Cup and he's going to different like groups and he's shitting on their team. And when he gets to the Japanese people, they're so nice. He shits on them, and then after he shits on them, he goes arigato, arigato, and then they go arigato back, and he keeps going. He's a genius. Like, because he's just a writer.
Yeah.
And he's just
Well, it was for Leo. 'Cause
Yeah.
he wrote Leo.
That's
He wrote
right.
Leo, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, Schmiegel.
Yeah.
All right. If there's anything else that we've missed, sorry we've missed it. May the 4th be with you. May the Force be with you. Watch all the movies, kids. See you next week. Say bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
You know, sometimes I amaze even myself.